You're exhausted, not because life is impossible, not because you're weak, but because you're trying to control everything. Every outcome, every person, every conversation, every possibility. And slowly, that pressure is destroying your peace. You wake up already thinking, already anxious, already trying to predict what could go wrong. And maybe nobody notices. Maybe you smile. Maybe you keep working. Maybe you keep pretending everything is fine. But deep inside, your mind never rests. And the worst part, you think control will save you, but it's actually the thing making you suffer. Most people don't even realize they're addicted to control. They call it being responsible, being prepared, thinking ahead. But there's a difference between responsibility and obsession. You don't just think, you overthink. You replay conversations, you imagine scenarios, you create problems that don't even exist yet. And then your body pays the price. Stress, anxiety, exhaustion, sleepless nights, a constant feeling that something is about to go wrong. And eventually, you stop living in the present. Your mind lives somewhere else. Tomorrow, next week, the future, the outcome, the fear. You become mentally absent from your own life. And the truth is, control gives the illusion of safety, but it steals peace. Maybe you know exactly what this feels like. You sit in silence, but your mind keeps moving. You try to relax, but something inside you refuses to stop. Even during good moments, you're preparing for disaster. You struggle to trust. You struggle to let go. You struggle to simply exist, because somewhere along the way, you started believing that if you controlled everything, you wouldn't get hurt. But life doesn't work like that. No matter how much you think, no matter how much you plan, no matter how careful you are, pain still exists, loss still exists, unexpected situations still happen. And that's terrifying for people who need control, because control feels like survival, but eventually it becomes a prison. You stop trusting life, you stop trusting people, you stop trusting yourself, and slowly, you become emotionally exhausted, not because life defeated you, but because your mind never stopped fighting. The Stoics understood something most people never learn. There are things you control, and there are things you don't. You control your actions, your effort, your discipline, your response. But you do not control people, outcomes, time, life. And suffering begins when you confuse the two. When you try to force life to obey your expectations. When you demand certainty from an uncertain world. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, being not outside events." And that changes everything, because peace doesn't come from controlling life. Peace comes from controlling yourself. And maybe that's the lesson you needed. Not to control everything, but to finally control your reaction, your mindset, your emotions, your choices. Because when your inner world becomes stronger, life stops feeling like a constant threat. Think about how much energy you've wasted trying to control things that were never yours to control. Think about the nights you lost, the peace you sacrificed, the moments you couldn't enjoy because your mind was somewhere else. And ask yourself, was it worth it? Did control really protect you, or did it just make you afraid all the time? Because fear hides behind control. Fear of uncertainty, fear of rejection, fear of pain, fear of losing, fear of not being enough. And sometimes, control is just anxiety wearing a smarter disguise. But here's the truth. You cannot grow if you need certainty before every step. You cannot evolve if you refuse discomfort. And you cannot experience peace if your mind is always preparing for war. At some point, you have to let go. Not because life is easy, but because holding everything is destroying you. Imagine waking up without needing to control every possibility. Imagine trusting yourself enough to handle whatever comes. Imagine no longer being ruled by fear. That doesn't mean becoming careless. It means becoming stronger. Stronger internally, more grounded, more disciplined, more present. Because real strength is not controlling life. It's remaining calm when life becomes unpredictable. That's power. And maybe your next level in life isn't about doing more. Maybe it's about releasing more. Releasing obsession, releasing fear. Releasing the illusion that you must control everything to be safe. Because the strongest people are not the ones who dominate life. They are the ones who adapt to it. So how do you start letting go? First, notice what is draining your mind. Notice what you constantly try to force. Notice what keeps stealing your peace. Then ask yourself, can I actually control this? If the answer is no, stop carrying it like it's your responsibility. Focus on what belongs to you, your discipline, your habits, your reactions, your integrity, your effort. That's where your power is. Not in controlling outcomes, but in becoming someone strong enough to face them. And yes, that takes practice. Your mind will want to go back to fear, back to anxiety, back to overthinking. But every time you pause, every time you breathe, every time you stop trying to force life, you become freer. Life was never meant to be fully controlled. And maybe that's what makes it meaningful. The uncertainty, the risk, the growth, the transformation. You don't need certainty to move forward. You need courage. You don't need total control. You need trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your strength. Trust that no matter what happens, you can handle it. Because peace begins the moment you stop fighting reality. And strength begins the moment you stop fearing uncertainty. Never forget, you're stronger than you think. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel and comment. What do I need to stop trying to control? Because your transformation begins with awareness. And this is only the beginning.